Hello, squids and octos, and welcome back to Frostbite League Week 5. I'm Yeson, and today we've got Ladias with me. How we
Hello.
doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I am excited. We've got two sets of games tonight. Oh my goodness, I should really start with an easier. Sorry, Mars. I should. We've got two games for you tonight. We're starting off with the Singapore Glaciers versus Melbourne Vortex. These are two teams that could potentially end up in the top of the league, depending on how tonight's game goes. So there's a lot at stake. Uh, Speaking of our teams, why don't we just get started and talk about them? Laddie, do you want to bring us through Singapore Glaciers to begin with?
Singapore Glaciers. Oh my goodness me. Well, we've got Loose Goose. We got Ardino. We got Emichi. We got my man Poetry. My main man. I love him. Puma and Liam. My goodness. They're such a crack team. They're I don't know. It's always hype whenever they're on. They're
Mm,
kind of like they're on everyone's radar, but like I
yeah,
think they should be everyone's number one top like watch out team. All right.
I've been doing a bit of analysis on Singapore Glaciers, and I'm very excited to talk about their tactics tonight. But generally,
Mm,
this is a team of players that are very hard to splat.
yep.
uh, these are players that are rapidly moving, keeping a good defensive line, and very
Yep.
hard to pin down, especially with the weapons they like to run. They like to be pretty free moving and flowing. So, yeah,
Yeah.
we'll see how their defense holds up. They're currently 2 wins and 1 loss on the league with 2 games left to play. We've got the week 4 matches that were deferred, going to be played next week, I believe. Uh,
Yes.
so they've still got 2 to go. So they've got a bit of room in their standings here, depending on how tonight goes.
Yeah, but currently they've done very well. Um, Yeah, but speaking of teams that have also done well, we have the Melbourne Vortex with Nex, A, Drago, Para, Ice Clear, and J Splat. Uh, and this is also a very hype team, especially with J Splat Zuka. My goodness,
Mm.
every time we feature the J Splat Zuka, the crowd goes crazy.
Well, it's funny because we used to be all excited about the Pumazuka in some previous content, and Puma does still play Splattershot, so we could see the clashing of the J-Zook and the Pumazuka in this match.
The Zuka duel, we better have that. Now that
I'm
you've said
excited
it.
for it. Yeah, Melbourne Vortex, they've got 3 wins under their belt, but this is their last game of the series. So winning this will definitely secure them a top spot. But Singapore have not proven to be a easy team to overcome. We've got a lot of
Absolutely.
players on Melbourne Vortex that like to play more traditional meta weapons, and they like a very traditional play style. They like pushing objective lines, they like keeping a fairly solid offensive front, and they don't like giving up ground easily. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. I'm expecting some more patient plays in this matchup. Players are going to be a lot more cautious about what they choose to engage on, I suspect.
It's always hard when like the threat of Goose is around and
Mm.
Shark and Carbons. You cannot advance until you paint every patch of ink.
I mean, we've seen some amazing sharking plays from Singapore in their previous sets. We've had players just hanging out after the clam basket is closed for a good 10 seconds, waiting for the entire team to clear out, and then just popping onto teammates one after the other. Uh, yeah, it's dangerous. Another note I have as well is that Melbourne Vortex have never played a game 6, and Singapore have
Oh.
played game 6 in every set they've played. So one of these streaks has to
Oh.
end tonight, and I don't know which one it's gonna be.
Well, I hope we get to the game 7 personally. The more
Hmm.
games of this caliber, the better.
We like the content.
We do like the content. So it's looking like we're about to start the game.
What are we
Our
starting
starting
with, laddie?
What are we starting with? Well, that's a brilliant question, yes, son. Our starting map of week 5 is Splat Zone's Umami Ruins.
Oh,
With our pool. I'll talk about the pool later on. Once we get
hmm.
into game 2, we'll talk about the pool.
Yeah. Toby does want me to mention in chat that Nex has the Sploosh weapons in their profile picture and has not played Sploosh during the league. We all know that this is just a reference to their previous Splatoon 2 playstyle, but realistically, I'm a big fan of Vanilla Sploosh myself. I wouldn't mind seeing it today.
Yeah, I think Nex should play it.
Yeah.
Yasuin really loves the hammer. So you would make him just very happy Nex, and I think that's very important.
If we can get a Yeet splat today, my day will be made. That's really all I'm asking for.
I know Emichi also plays Wiper.
Yeah,
So-
it is possible there.
It's possible there as well, but Emichi isn't in the lobby right now, so we might have to hope
All right,
later
well,
on
that's
that
just
we
more
get some
pressure
slots.
on... Wait, do we even have Nex in the lobby?
No, we have A,
Oh.
Drago, Para, and J Splat from Melbourne. As you will see.
Liam's got my back in chat. All right, we're gonna kick things off here. We've got Splatzone Zumami ready to roll. Let's have a look at these weapons.
There's the carbon.
Yeah. We didn't
but
mention
where
it
is-
either, but Ardino, a prominent squeezer player as well, gained that extra bit of range and firepower over a lot of other shooter weapons. So it could be very handy for taking zones on this map.
Oh, absolutely. I feel like Squeezer just has like a positive matchup into pretty much every shooter as a main weapon.
100%. Well, our early splats are going in favor of Singapore at the moment. They do have zone control and they're getting a good control of mid, but we don't see anything too oppressive yet.
Oh no,
We're
it's
holding-
in favor of Melbourne at the moment.
Oh, it's in favor of Melbourne. Yes, my apologies.
It's all good. That's okay. It will be in favor of Singapore, hopefully.
All
Ardino
right,
getting a splat on J split.
Yeah, we've got two specials coming out here as well to try and neutralize the field. Singapore is going to be able to take control, apply that first penalty. They do have to watch out for this E-leader at the back of the map here.
Amazing
You've got to be
snipe.
careful. Because the E-leader has a lot of good sightlines on this map and is going to be able to get those picks nice and quickly if you're not paying attention.
Because this map is so flat, it's really, really good for E-liter.
Absolutely. We've got one zone a team right now, but only 2 members up on Singapore means that Melbourne's going to have a good chance at establishing control here.
Yo, nice double from Poetry.
Ooh.
Poetry is really close to an Inkjet as well, so can we continue the streak, Poetry?
Yeah, should be able to steamroll that through by painting the zone as well. I don't think they're going to overextend though. I don't think we're going to see anything crazy with this Inkjet. It's probably going to be played defensively to hold the line.
Sniped by the E-liter. Was that a double collat? I'm not sure. It might possibly. But never mind, Loose Goose comes in and just sharks and splats too, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's totally fine. That's exactly what the Carbon's going to be doing for all of these matches, is just keeping that mobility up, making sure that they're very hard to hit, and catching anyone out who is surrounded by the wrong color ink. Man, what a scoreline so far. We're 2 minutes in, and no one is yet to break the 40-point mark. It's quite impressive to see.
It's looking like Singapore might be able to take the lead. They do get the lead, but the zones have been suppressed now. But they've got 2 down on Melbourne, so they're going to continue pushing, it looks
Yeah.
like.
I mean, this is really feeding into how these two teams play, right? We're seeing a lot of defensive plays. We've got the members of Melbourne just playing a line. They're not advancing too far forward. They're not taking risks. And because of that, we're going to see a lot of neutral zones here. We're not going to see too much aggressive scoring until the specials come out, because that's when you make your move.
Ooh, Goose.
That was so close. I was like, I think they've caught Goose, but I'm not quite sure. They did manage to get Goose out there. And we are so close to applying a penalty onto Singapore.
There
Melbourne
we
just need a bit more
go.
paint, and we've got it. So
They're
that's going
all-
to buy quite a bit of
They're
time.
all going after Ardino.
Yes, and they do manage to secure that one as well. Drago's going to pull back. They've got the Booyah Bomb ready as well. They're probably going to try and chuck that into the base choke point when the aggression starts coming in from Singapore. It's quite a bit of scoreline to go and only a minute 30 to do it. You don't often see Splat Zone's games go down to this kind of line, but it just shows you these teams quite close in skill level, and we're in for some tight matches.
Well, J-Splat gets the pick on the Inkjet, but is taken out by Ardino. Ardino trades with Drago in the zone. Loose Goose trying to cap the zone by himself with power jumping in to try and help neutralize. It looks like people are just painting the zones right now to try and stop the lead going into Melbourne's favor, and they do get the lead. And now with like only 16 points left to get, and a lot of Singapore down, it's looking like this is going to go to Melbourne. Nice night from A onto Loose Goose, and that is the game.
Yeah, we saw Singapore definitely noticing that they were running out of time there, and we started to see a bit less of that defensive playstyle with players jumping in onto the zone and trading or just painting and going down. And in Splat Zones, you've got to be extra careful, even if your opponent has a low scoreline. Often there's just enough time for you to regroup before diving in there. And I think it speaks to Melbourne's pressure that Singapore thought they didn't have that time, and they just went for it.
Well, it was still a very back and forth game. Usually, a lot of Splat Zones games can just go straight knockouts, or they can be really close. And I think if they're really close, then it just shows that, you know, the teams themselves are really close in skill as well. And, you know, hopefully we get that game 7.
I'm really hoping for it. I think these two teams can get us there. I think we have the potential for that.
We pray.
Yeah. Well, in the meantime, we can talk about our map pool now as we wait the counter pick. What options do we have available for us in this week 5 map list?
Well, we saw yesterday Splat Zone's Mahi Mahi Resort as the final game.
I don't know why we saw it, but it was a great thing to watch. If you haven't seen yesterday's game, the VOD is available on this channel, and you should absolutely catch it after this.
We should definitely go and see Mahi Resort in this set as well, please.
Yes.
We have E-Leader players. You know.
We do. It is a good E-Leader map, I believe.
It's very good. Especially when it's really early in the game and the map is really claustrophobic. Great E-Leader map. Anyway, other maps that they can pick is Splat Zone, Sturgeon Shipyard. We have TC Manta Maria and Hagglefish. We have Rainmaker Mako and Undertow Spillway, and then we have Clan Blitz, Eeltail Alley, and Inkblot Art Academy.
Yeah, based on these teams' previous counter picks as well, there's nothing here that's off the table. Both Singapore and Melbourne could pick Clan Blitz. That's always something I like to check, because there are some teams that just won't pick Clan Blitz. But it's on the table for both of our teams today, and there's no specific mode weaknesses here as well. I would expect Melbourne Vortex, they seem to have a penchant for tower control, but I wouldn't say it's a reliability. It's just when chips are down, it's been a safe pick for them. So I could see that potentially coming in, especially with A. We saw an amazing job there anchoring, and you know, they didn't even have the most protective of spaces. Some of our tower control maps here do have a lot more little soft pockets they can tuck themselves into.
Well, the map they've chosen at the moment for this next game is Rainmaker Mako Mart. So that makes sense coming from Singapore, to be honest, because they have. I feel like they have a more aggressive comp than Melbourne, especially with the Carbon. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I would absolutely agree with that. They have the ability to really skirmish depending on which players they have on their roster. Emichu and Goose are definitely quite aggressive players and can change up Singapore's playstyle quite substantially. So a map like Mako, where there's lots of blind spots to take advantage of, really just speaks to their planning for their comp. I think this is a smart choice.
Yeah, and we did see some subs coming out. So Poetry subbed out for Emichu. Yeah, I think we're gonna see definitely a more aggressive playstyle coming out from Singapore. Dropping the backline for the Rainmaker is a good decision.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they can pick up on the weakness of Melbourne Vortex. There is one thing that I've noticed that can consistently take them out, and that is that They don't respond well to very long flanks. Now, I've written very long specifically because
Very long.
they have good perception. But if a flank is so absurd that no one will possibly take it, I have seen their entire team get wiped out by one player who just really plays the long game.
I
And
think
Goose
feel
could
like
absolutely
anyone
do
would
that.
fall for that.
Yeah, most people would, right? Like, I think it's just down to how their weapons are prioritized, right? They have a lot of specials that require forward facing, so they're not checking their backs as often. They're more focused on creating a solid defensive line on their sides. So they'll notice someone if someone tries to slip past them, but if someone is already behind them, that's when they have trouble. So maybe Singapore can take advantage of that. They are traditionally very hard to splat players, so if one player gets back there and just takes a series of 1v1s, they could cause a lot of problems for Melbourne's backline.
Yeah, well, I think Melbourne subbed out their backline as well because they
Oh,
see
yes.
Drago in
Of
here.
course. I have in my notes that A doesn't play Rainmaker. They do not play A on Rainmaker because it is much better for them to be more mobile for Rainmaker.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that may not be necessarily as much the case in this set.
Yeah, and here we go. We see no backlines coming out, which
Oh, no.
makes sense.
Yep. All right. We are in this for the long haul. This is going to be pure chaos. We see multiple crabs coming out here from Singapore. Not too surprising.
Yep.
Yeah, this is so many close range weapons. I think the dualies are going to have a good advantage in this situation because they're going to be contesting with players pretty much entirely within their weapon range.
Yeah. I was having a look at the loadouts when the game started, and it looks like there's only one Ninja Squid player on each team.
Wow.
But there's also no end zaps, which on Rainmaker, when you're kind of like feeding for points frequently, which is it's a little strange to not see any coolers at all.
I agree
Or-
with that.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen a lot of cooler in Frostbite recently. I'd also like to point out we just had a wipeout on Singapore, and Melbourne immediately rushed the checkpoint. They haven't been able to get much momentum past that point. I just wanted to acknowledge that it did happen, and it happened very quickly, just in case chat was freaking out and wondering if it was a mirage of some kind. They're still holding it in this choke point. It's only been a minute so far, and there is plenty of potential to rush that for quick points. The suction bomb tries to make some cover, but the play is caught out. Ardino has not left this plank in a while. Now it's working. Now they're making it.
Ardino was just barely unable to stop that splat. He's been camping up there a while, just stopping them from being able to push past 40 something. And then he misses that one splat, and then they pushed it to 8.
Yeah, it's a very dangerous spot to leave your Rainmaker, but because we don't really have any major backliners on Singapore, there's no one that could really hold that from a distance. So they just kind of had to cross their fingers and pray.
That's the game, apparently.
And that's it.
Don't take Australian players to Rainmaker, because as soon as they get the wipeout, they've already pushed it well into your spawn, apparently.
And this is why we didn't see a lot of Ninja Squid as well, because the players wanted the mobility. They just wanted to be able to evade and get those points.
That's true. Ninja Squid does slow you down, but it also does help you with the long flanks. So, I mean, it was good to see one player on each team had Ninja Squid.
Yeah, I do like that we get quite a bit of build variety in these tournaments. I know that the endgame of Splatoon 2 was pretty locked in, so it's nice to see players still experimenting with different abilities. And I think we get some interesting results because of it.
Yeah, like, we see people in this game, like, a lot of people are picking up tactical comps to try and mitigate the effects of how strong Inkjet is at the moment, and Crab. And, yeah, but people still run, like, full-on Crab and Inkjet comps. Even, like, Machine, even though it's been nerfed so many times, it still does get usage.
It absolutely does. Just because it's such a solid main weapon, really. It is such a good weapon at finishing fights and hitting those odd angles and countering Crab, which is the main reason it entered the meta in the first place.
Yep.
I do like, there are some backline comps for Rainmaker I do like, but I'm realizing we probably don't have the time to discuss this because the counterpick might have come in.
Oh, we still don't have it yet, but what do you think they might counterpick?
Okay, well, Rainmaker didn't work, and it didn't work quite spectacularly, so I don't imagine we're going to see Rainmaker again immediately.
Maybe not.
Maybe something they can slow down a bit more. Potentially Tower. I think Tower is probably the safe pick. We do have two Splat Zones maps still to pick as well. I'm feeling Tower. I think we're gonna see Tower next. Never mind, I was totally wrong.
We're going to Rainmaker Undertow. There we go.
I do like Rainmaker Undertow. It is a fun map. We
very
are also
fun,
getting some subs from Singapore as well, looking to change their lineup and hopefully their luck in the process. I don't know who's subbing in though.
It looks like Liam is subbing in for a Loose Goose. It looks like.
Okay. I mean, I didn't see a lot of Goose in those previous matches, so maybe they were just getting unlucky with their pushes.
Possibly.
So a good idea to change momentum on that front, I feel.
They may have also just heard us talking about Machine, and they were like, "Oh, we could sub in our Machine player."
Yeah, Machine sounds good. We can go Machine. I like a Booyah Bomb.
Yeah, I do like the Fizzy Bomb into the Rainmaker shield, and then Booyah Bomb in front of the Rainmaker.
So nice. I've only just recently started playing with Fizzy Bomb, and I'm in love with it. It was excellent. I'm a Luna player myself, so that's my Fizzy Bomb. One thing I'll quickly point out here as well is we did see this map picked yesterday in the Auckland match, and we saw some incredible holds. And I feel like Singapore has the skill sets to pull those off as well, where they can just lock down an area of the map, take down anyone that comes in, and then continue a push forward. So with the Tri-Slosher, I think you're in a good position to pull off moves like that.
Oh, okay. Liam isn't on Machine. He's on the Tri-Slosher with the Tacticooler, so that's interesting.
You were discussing Tacticooler for Rainmaker earlier. It is very good for making those gut plays for points and being able to re-establish control quite quickly afterwards.
Yeah, or if you're bred, it's good to just like throw it out and then feed the Rainmaker and stop pushes. But
absolutely,
we could definitely see people doing that.
All right, well,
said, though, Melbourne has
push, not quite reaching the checkpoint though. The rest of the team kind of being scrambled by specials at the moment. So Singapore able to put a stop. The checkpoint does get cleared.
But they do get the full wipeout.
Yeah, so that means we're going to see a good amount of map control for Singapore here. They've got specials ready to go as well, so hopefully they can snowball this into a checkpoint. It's not a crazy hard checkpoint to hit, and we have the Zook right there.
The Zook onto J-Splat.
Onto J-Splat. That's the irony we were looking for. That's exactly what we wanted.
Emichi has Hammer, so you might get to see your Hammer play. Like, they're all really close up, but Ice Clear does take out Emichi, unfortunately. And I don't think it's looking like Singapore will be able to break the checkpoint as well.
No, they're losing a bit too much ground here. Which is a shame, because I think this is very well played by Melbourne. If they had picked up the Rainmaker, that Ultra Stamp would have been able to immediately stop it, and also potentially wipe out another player as well. So very smart thinking on Melbourne there to not pick that one up. The reset definitely in their favour.
Yeah, and here we see Drago in the Zipcaster, able to... Oh, Liam takes him out! Wow! I'm honestly surprised. It's like, I felt like he took a lot of horizontal slashes, and Liam's just cracked.
That's what I'm telling you about Singapore. They are hard to splat players. They know their movement, they know their tech. They are very hard to pin down, even when you have a special right in their face. They do not panic. Absolutely,
and it's looking like Nex is on Rainmaker, just trying to avoid it, and then we're at a kind of like pseudo full wipe. Ardino dies to Drago in mid, but this might be the chance Singapore needs to get a push.
We'll see how well they can deal with Drago, though. Drago will be a thorn in their side.
Well, Drago was so annoying and like went behind them that they all like it distracted them long enough for the rest of the team to get in, right?
Well, they had to collapse onto them, otherwise they would have lost their push to Drago. So
yeah,
it was a very good positioning decision on Drago's behalf. They noticed that they had that unique opportunity and they capitalized beautifully.
Yeah, Drago's just everyone's cracked in this league.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. We've got 2 minutes left here. Still a checkpoint standing between Singapore and their chance at their first point in this set. They're going to need a serious splatting advantage, and right now they do not have one.
But the points are still really close, though, so it's still anyone's game. All Singapore really needs to do is just get past checkpoint and run it a little bit further, but they always see Next gets a really nice flank and just takes out 3.
Yeah.
And has strikes to better their push. Helps take out Ardino. Going for Emichu now. And Emichu Hammer gets to double!
Now that's what we like to see.
Emichu.
Next did an amazing amount of work there and really ate into Singapore's time. So Singapore now really under the pump to get this one in their favor. But look, I got Ultra Stamp splats on stream. I'm happy. I've had a good day.
You've had a good day, but what if we see the Ultra Stamp quad though?
It doesn't exist. It can't exist.
It can't exist? Are you sure?
I mean, look, I've tried very hard.
But it would make your day even more.
Oh, so much. All right, well, this is looking like a decent chance. We've got the Ultra Stamp leading the Rainmaker. Everyone gets drinks as well on the way through, which means that even if this push stalls, it has a chance to continue.
They had all of their specials to defend that. The strikes to the paint in front of Ice Clear, who wasn't able to take out the Rainmaker, was able to distract long enough for the rest of his team to come in and follow up through the strikes as well. Emichu trying to run after Next to get that pick, but they only have 20 seconds left, and Singapore needs to break a checkpoint and then just run it a little bit further past 50, but it's just Ardino left.
It is not looking good. Yeah, I think
just,
we can probably call that one curtains there. Melbourne, if they're good at one thing, it is holding a frontal line. If you try to run head-on into Melbourne's defense, you will be splattered. And we saw that in multiple Rainmaker pushes there, where we had a lot of good momentum for Singapore. They had their entire team, they were rushing left path, they were primed and ready to score some points. But progress just fell apart. They had specials, they had everything they needed, but they just couldn't break the line. And I think that's due to Melbourne's excellent positioning and tactics.
Absolutely, and because of that, they're at match point now.
Yeah, match point, especially scary considering that, these have been Singapore counter picks as well. These are the maps that they thought they had the chance to turn the tables on. So, what do they have left in their pocket? Do they have a map they were holding on to, or is this going to be a desperation play? Are we going to see clams?
Well, they can't pick Rainmaker anymore. They can only pick Splat Zones, Tower Control, or Clam Blitz.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like clams might be the go. And I know it's a bit of a wild choice in this case, but what I'm thinking is that we have members of Singapore Glaciers who are very good at shaking opponents. If we have a couple of members of Singapore with 6 clams each, they're able to shake their opponents and sneak under basket. They can make a power clam. They can get 40 points without having to worry. And just a couple of those pushes and they win the game, right? Like that is a definite tactic they can leverage against Melbourne, who are very good at a single defensive line. But if you break them up by splitting clams around, they might not be as solid separately as they are together.
Maybe. Well, we're gonna soon find out if Singapore has figured out the strat to beating Melbourne. We're going to TC Manta.
I mean, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that anyone's really got a surefire hit, but I think Tower Control is a good change of pace. I think Splat Zones would have been a mistake in this case, so I'm glad that the team recognized that. Tower Control on Manta, it's an odd pick. It is a map that highly favors indirect fire from weapons. So we're going to be seeing sloshes on this map, I have no doubts.
Yeah.
I don't know how good an Inkzooka is on this map. I don't know if the angles are too tight for an Inkzooka arc.
I reckon Inkzooka could work.
I guess we'll find out, because we're going to see at least one. These teams have been running a lot of Inkzooka.
We still haven't hit the Puma and J-Splat 1v1 yet, though.
No. I mean, it could happen here. This could be it. Yeah, additionally, tower control manta traditionally very hard to get from second checkpoint to third checkpoint just because you're in a narrow trench where players can fire on you from both sides. If you're trying to rush that, you will get absolutely splattered. So we usually see players either getting incredibly aggressive or we just see special spam to try to prolong and get as many points as possible. Based on the specials that these teams have been running, I think we're going to see a lot of explosions and possibly inkjets between those two checkpoints.
We have A subbing in here for Melbourne, so it looking like they might have an E-liter. And then we don't have a backline. We don't have a backline from Singapore.
Oh, okay. We don't have poetry on this one? I really thought we might.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Singapore, I mean, they've got something brewing, clearly. This is not a player we would have expected, so maybe they're hoping to throw off Melbourne's momentum by just trying something a little different.
Maybe. Well, hopefully we get the reverse sweep.
Oh my goodness, we have Liam, Puma, Loose Goose, and Ardino.
Yeah.
That just sounds scary.
They're gonna go to the street and, like, fire over the walls so they can't get back in once they have the tower.
Okay, well, I'm keen to see it.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, I mean, this is set point right now. If Melbourne win this, that is 4 wins for their team. They are in the top rank. There is nothing that will take that away from them. Singapore, they don't need to win today, but it would be very helpful to them because they've won against a lot of the other top teams. So if they're able to even get some points here, it could really help their overall standing.
Absolutely. Melbourne's just kind of wanting to win this so they can flex on everyone and be the top
Melbourne
seed,
doesn't play six. We discussed this at the start. They are keen to just finish their sets. All right, well, here we go. Set point. Let's see what our players are cooking up.
Well, they're cooking on Singapore. We got the machine, the squeezer, the splash, and we got the stamper. Meanwhile, coming from Melbourne, we have Splash Machine, Dualies, and Ballpoint coming out from A. Not an E-liter.
Singapore are going to be okay on turf with this comp.
Possibly. I don't think there is, like... I mean, they have a splash, right? And I don't think they're leaning towards the kind of sharking stuff they usually do with Goose on Carbon. Or, yeah, so I think it should be okay. Looking like Singapore's trying to push the tower early.
Yeah, clearing that first checkpoint early can be quite valuable. But we do have a lot of people going down in mid, and this is something you see pretty commonly on Manta. Lots of trades, and then a stalled out fight that isn't really going to get anywhere.
And Singapore wasn't quite able to make it through checkpoint. Next comes in, gets the last 2, and now it's gonna... Melbourne is farming their specials and looking like to mount a push of their own.
And I think they will be able to clear first checkpoint here. They've got a lot of pressure they can throw out, and there is not a lot that Singapore can do at long range.
There it is.
We do have the clear, and they are headed to second checkpoint with not too much in their way at the moment. The Zuka not really clearing the wall, and Inkjet going to cancel that one out. Tri-Strike is going to buy them a bit of time, but is it going to be enough to get into the positions they need?
Oh, Tri-Strike coming from Melbourne as well. Like, Melbourne didn't even use all of their specials to get past the first checkpoint, so they were able to use it to continue this push. Numbers are still in Melbourne's advantage, still pushing. A has farmed another Inkjet, Liam booyahing the tower and letting Goose come back in to spot the person on tower. But Nex is flanking? Oh, Loose Goose finds him. Alright, we're good.
Yeah, that was scary for a moment. Yeah, I mean, Singapore are playing this excellently. They are trying their best just to hide in pockets that make it unsafe for Melbourne to push, right? Because clearing this second checkpoint is quite challenging, and if you jump onto that tower recklessly, you will get splattered. So Melbourne, being a very cautious team, they're not taking any risks, and because of that, they're not clearing the checkpoint. So it kind of works in Singapore's favor to just play extra spooky.
Yeah, and they've just cleared the checkpoint. Loose Goose does go down to Drago on Zipcaster, and it's just Ardino.
Yeah,
Ardino
that was a very wide flank. I'm surprised Drago caught it.
Yeah, well, 3 of them went down, so this push from Singapore is over, but they did clear the checkpoint, so the next push they make will definitely give them a good shot of taking the lead, I reckon.
Absolutely. All right, Drago with a Booyah Bomb here. It's going to slow the tower a bit, but it buys them a lot of space and does manage to find Goose, which means that they are in a good position to potentially get some points on this second checkpoint. Tri-Strike comes in, but it goes a bit far, which means it's not going to be able to do much as well.
Liam's able to take out 2. I don't think they know where Ice Clear is, do they?
I haven't seen anything that would suggest that, which means we're probably going to see a reset. But Ice is going to be in a very strong position to shut that out if they don't get spotted. They have been spotted, they jump out. Good calls on the players there. We're not going to see anything crazy happening from that.
Here we go, strikes and crab used on Melbourne just to try and keep Singapore out. They only have 1:30 left to get to this tower and get the lead. And they have all 2 specials from Singapore to Melbourne's 1, so this might be their chance if they can get the picks from the specials. Next does go down, it's a 3v3. Liam booyahing onto the right side, maybe? Or maybe onto A. It's either Drago or A. Place your bets. And it's onto Ice Clear.
Okay. None of the above. Realistically, they're trying their best here just to try and secure some ground. Both of these teams are quite defensive in playstyle, but it's working more in Melbourne's favor just because of their ability to hold lines and get those extra picks. So, yeah, we're going to need to see something pretty drastic here from Singapore. It's not a big scoreline to make up, but if they go down here, they will only have one more chance.
Well, Ingzuka coming out from Ardino, unable to get a pick on anything. Just kind of pre-firing at Ice Clear. Loose Goose, I think, gets 2. Ardino now is trying to look for players flanking, and now just rushing at A. Able to take out A. Can they get the lead, please?
I mean, this is promising. They've been able to stagger Melbourne's spawns a bit here, so as long as Melbourne are very good at re-establishing a line, so they're going to need to panic them further. They're going to need to throw specials. They're going to need to do something
Liam's
risky.
taken out. 52 points. They're resetting the tower.
And only
they
7
need to
seconds.
get back.
I don't think they can.
Puma's jumping in and dies. That's the end of the game.
That was a moment there, right? There was a real moment. We got down to 2 points difference. But we just had Melbourne collapse in. They knew that their moment was then, and they spent everything to get it, and there was no way Singapore could get back on. Yeah, I mean, when you have 2 defensive powerhouses go up against each other, but one is just a bit more coordinated in terms of keeping and holding objectives, that's the team that's going to win the day. I'm a bit disappointed that it was a 4-0, because I really feel like we could have seen Singapore take some of those games, but Melbourne was 2 on point. They don't play Game 6.
They don't play Game 6. They only get W's, apart from we ignore that 1 loss, but it's fine. They only get W's.
They only get W's, other than the 1 loss. So that means that Melbourne are done with their matches for the round robin. They are going to be closing out with a 4-1. Currently the only team with 4 wins in the series, which isn't exactly fair because there are still teams that haven't played 4 games yet? No, everyone's played 4 games now. Math is important.
Almost everyone.
Oh, but you're right.
Every team has got at least 2 losses, other than Melbourne. So they are. Other than Melbourne, Singapore was the only one that was 1 loss as well. So yeah, now that's secured Melbourne's top seed. So they don't have to play the final, the 3rd and 2nd place match. They'll just go straight to the finals.
Pretty exciting, wouldn't you say, Melbourne?
Yeah, hello.
Very exciting.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
100% congratulations. Very dominant showing today. We had a lot of very close score lines, but your score was always in front. Like, there weren't not many instances where you had to overtake. You had the lead from the start and just held it. I want to talk to you a bit about your defense today, because I was really impressed by the show you put on. Should probably follow that with a question. Yeah, I mean, first of all, let's talk weapon comps. Melbourne, you've traditionally played weapons that are quite standard, but we've got Ice who plays dualies. We've got A who plays quite a few different anchoring weapons, but E-Leader especially. Maybe just you can nominate one of you to talk about how you create these weapon comps and how you strategize for these games.
I nominate
I
Joey.
think. Yeah. I think it just comes down to us being like a bunch of one tricks pretty much. We all play like we pretty much stick to our role. We don't like change too much. So like building comps was like really easy for us from the start.
Okay, so this was just always going to be Melbourne's comp. There was no
Yeah.
additional budging in that. There was no additional negotiation.
Not at all.
Yeah, we all have our own strengths, and we play really well to them, I think.
And we all just, most of us are just a bunch of one tricks, so we never really like change our weapons, pretty much.
Well, I do have in my notes that you are quite adaptable based on the modes you play, and I think that comes in part due to the fact that you use your substitutions quite cleverly. Do you want to talk to us a bit about how your substituting allows you to adapt for these different games? I should probably pick someone.
Yeah.
Para.
Well, so first off, our subs at the start were like making sure everyone had their games in, so we had to make sure we're all, actually qualifying for the finals.
Yes.
But everyone's very on top of what modes and maps they're good of. So it makes finding which people to play for each map really easy. Like for example, I'm not going to play a lot of the bad crab maps like Mako and Manta, so that leaves chances for other people in the team like Nex's Neo Splash to really step in and be a lot more useful than I would be in that situation.
Awesome. So what I'm kind of hearing is that it's very lucky that your team is able to adapt to all these situations because you've kind of already got your niches. Well, I mean, that's very cool. And it's very cool that you're all so knowledgeable about your own strengths and weaknesses as well. Laddie, do you have any questions for the team?
Mars is demanding a para speech in the chat.
If we win grand finals, I'll give a para speech. There's the
Okay.
There you go, Mars.
Heard it here first. Okay, I've got one more question. I'm probably going to give it to Nex if Nex is on mic. I don't know if Nex
Well, he's
is.
not talking in mic, but
Okay. Well,
he'll say stuff in chat.
so
And
I'll give this question to JSplat then, and Nex can mention some things in chat and kind of inform that one. The team of Singapore Glaciers are made up of a bunch of players that skirmish very well. They're very adept at 1v1s. And your team was able to keep up with that and actually secure a lot of splats. Do you want to talk about like how that process was for you and how you were able to overcome their evasiveness?
Well, I feel like each player individually are very good. And so we kind of just thought we should play a bit more as a team kind of thing and be closer together. And have coordinated pushes to be able to break their defense or their offense. And not take 1v1s. Well, unless you're Nex, who can take 2v1s. But yeah, I definitely agree saying about how well they are individually.
Awesome. Yeah, I think we definitely noticed that throughout the games. The O team had coordination to take objectives just a bit more than Singapore did. And because of that, you were able to get those early point leads. So it was very impressive. We also wanted to see a Pumazuka versus Jzuka battle. I know you were hit by a Pumazuka at some point, but I don't know if you got them back at any point. I don't know if we saw it.
My Zuka was a bit rusty today.
Oh, all right. Well, maybe next time.
I'm just leaving it to rest for the finals, you know?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, so who are you wanting to see in the finals? Because you've already made it there.
I reckon a
Personally,
rematch
I would
against Manila
say
would be really good.
Yeah,
Yeah, either
I'm
Manila
really excited
or
to play against
Auckland.
Manila again.
Especially with Jelly's sub as well. Jelly is a very strong player, as we saw last night. So I would love to compete against him as well.
Yep. Okay. I'm getting a unified position from the team that you want that rematch. You want to be able to run that one back.
Shit.
And with how the standings are looking at the moment, there is a good chance that could be the case. Singapore was one of the other big contenders for the top spot, and you've just knocked them down a peg today. So, yeah, good luck with that. And I'm sure you'll be watching our next few matches with bated breath.
Yeah. Speaking of our next matches,
Yeah.
at 6 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, we have our final match of week 5.
My
Manila?
goodness,
That's not
that's
Manila.
only in just over 2 hours.
Is it? Oh, it's 6 p.m. Australian Western Standard Time. Sorry, guys, I'm in the West.
Time zone.
Yeah, so we have Jakarta versus Sydney.
Oh my goodness, the last game of week 5? Who's
Last
going to
game.
win, Ladias?
I don't know. You have to tune in a couple of hours.
A couple of hours, that's just enough time to watch yesterday's game.
Oh, it is. You're not wrong. Where Yesuwin was commentating along with Quill. And that went to game 7. So if you haven't watched it, definitely check that out. Team, have you got any last words before we sign off?
Melbourne strong.
Like and subscribe. Oh yeah, Melbourne strong.
Melbourne
Ardino's
strong,
scary.
Like and subscribe.
Ardino's scary, agreed. Yeah,
Everyone's
next
scary.
in chat as well just wants to quickly let us know that they played very good positioning today. They didn't use those words. I'm using those words because I watched them play and they did very well.
Absolutely. All right.
Melbourne strong. Thank you
Melbourne
so
strong.
much, everyone, for tuning in for this match. We will be back in just a couple hours. So hopefully you'll join us then.